Hello everyone, and this is my review for Monday Night Raw on May 7th, 2012, and I'll pretty much go right from the beginning here. They started off with John Laurinaitis coming out there, saying he's sick and tired of people questioning his authority and everything in that in that aspect, and there would be dire consequences for anyone else who does it. I like the idea of having CM Punk be essentially the first person to come out and question his authority in the end, because pretty much the whole authority with John Laurinaitis kind of started with him and CM Punk. So it's just nice that they keep using that little tidbit in there. Obviously, Laurinaitis is going to be focusing more on John Cena right now. And it's also nice to see that they may be building a storyline up to Lord Tensai and CM Punk as well. Not too terribly sure if that's what they're going for, or if they're just going to use Tensai as a henchman to John Laurinaitis. But it's definitely coming to the point that you can tell Tensai is going to be some kind of henchman for Laurinaitis, at the least at this point in time. I do kind of like that. The Tensai character, I'm still holding my reservations on, because he hasn't been around too terribly long yet, and honestly, I'd just rather see where it's going before I make a full judgment here. I kind of like where they're going, but I don't even want to say that I'm fully liking it until maybe a few more weeks or so in that aspect. With the matches that happened on Monday Night Raw, you had Big Show and Cody Rhodes for the Intercontinental title again. Okay match. Cody basically walks out of the match, and after the match, because of what happened beforehand, with Eve catching Big Show making fun of John Laurinaitis' voice, she comes out there and forces an apology out of him. The one thing I do definitely like about that aspect, it does show that Eve has some kind of power in the role she's supposed to be playing right now. So that's always a good sign for what they're trying to pull off there, is that you got to get her over as somewhat of an authority figure, but not the authority figure for the show itself. So that was a nice little tidbit there. The tag match with Layla and Kelly and Maxine and Natalya. Obviously, they basically just threw that out there so they could tell everyone that Beth versus Layla had over the limit for the Divas title. Obviously, the Divas division is not going anywhere. It really hasn't gone anywhere for God knows how long, and I think most people have given up hope on that. Maybe if Karma returns, you'll see something good come out of it, out of that division, but they need more than 1 to 2 minutes on the air to get something over, but they obviously won't get that time, because generally they're not going to be, they're not the ones that people are there to see. In general, they're just kind of there in most cases. The match with Brutus Clay and The Miz, this is probably the best match I've seen out of Brutus Clay so far. Obviously, they were going to have him go over because they're still trying to push him to the moon at this point in time. Having him go over Miz, though, I'm not too sure that was really a good thing. Maybe I would have tried going someone that's right under Miz beforehand, to have him push up a little bit more before him going up against the Miz. Maybe even made Miz like his first real feud, and maybe they still will. Who knows what they're going to actually do, or if this was just a one-off and having Brutus Clay win. But the match itself was it was a good match. It wasn't. It was probably the best match anybody's seen so far out of Brutus Clay in that sense. So in the end, it was what it was, and maybe they'll start a feud. Maybe this is just the one-off, and it'll lead to whatever Brutus Clay's main feud's going to be whenever that's going to be done. But they definitely need to do it. They definitely need to put him in a main feud to keep his character relevant and entertaining on the show. The John Cena interview with Michael Cole, it was what it was. It was basically John Cena saying he's just going to beat the crap out of John Laurinaitis at the pay-per-view, and basically to also sell the injury that he got through Brock Lesnar as well. They did on that aspect. They did a good job about selling the injury and telling the the injury he initially got from Brock Lesnar, and that was continued through Laurinaitis and John Laurinaitis a week before. They did a good job on that. The other portion where he basically was saying he was going to kick his ass, that you hear that all the time, so that meant really nothing to me, at least in my aspect there. The other promo that I ended up really liking was the seeing the return of Paul Heyman to be the legal representation of Brock Lesnar. And for anybody who's watched my other videos, I don't care about Brock Lesnar being back in the WWE, and and honestly, I would rather him just be gone and they would try to push newer stars versus having the older stars be in the company for their nostalgia act at this point in time. But for the aspect of what we're seeing right now, I like Paul Heyman coming in as Brock Lesnar's mouthpiece, because Brock Lesnar's never been really that great on the mic to begin with. So having Paul Heyman come on here, someone who's really good on the mic, really good talker, to be the legal representation for Brock Lesnar will definitely make his promo time and time that he's just there to talk be a lot more bearable than what it was before, because Paul Heyman can get over the fact of what Brock Lesnar is, and Brock can do that himself, but Paul Heyman can accentuate that and speak it out a lot better than what Brock could. So it was good to see Paul Heyman come back in there and do his do the rant and read the statement from Brock Lesnar and basically saying he quit and everything. So obviously they'll be building up into something. I don't know if it'll be going into SummerSlam or a different pay-per-view, but they'll obviously be building for him and Triple H at some point in time here in the near future. Which now brings me to the main event. It was supposed to be, actually I have one more match I actually wanted to talk about. I can't believe I forgot about this before I get to the main event. The first hour's main event with Sheamus and Randy Orton versus Alberto Del Rio and Chris Jericho. The match itself was a great tag team match. It was just a fun, enjoyable match to watch from bell to bell. The only problem I have with it is that instead of sticking with this one-on-one aspect for Alberto Del Rio and Sheamus, they're now switching it off to a fatal four-way with adding Chris Jericho and Randy Orton. And I find that to be more troubling towards Alberto Del Rio, because it almost feels like they don't have confidence that he can do a good one-on-one match, or people don't really want to see a one-on-one match with him and Sheamus. But honestly, I mean, the match, the Fatal 4 that they got set up for Over the Limit now, will probably be an extremely fun match. I personally wish they would have just kept it one-on-one for the time being. Adding the extra bodies in there, in my mind, doesn't really help the match itself, but it should be an extremely fun match to watch in the end. at the pay-per-view here. Now, which brings me to the main event, which was initially going to be just CM Punk versus Laurinaitis, and it gets changed right before the match to a handicap match, CM Punk versus Laurinaitis and Daniel Bryan. And this came off really well to me here, because obviously you're trying to push Laurinaitis to be this unstoppable force, and of course you got to build the Daniel Bryan CM Punk storyline, which this kind of helps out in that aspect as well, because obviously Daniel Bryan is going to get one over on CM Punk this week because of having Laurinaitis' help here, and you saw that at the end of the match with him putting in the Yes Lock. I love the fact they changed the name to the Yes Lock versus just having to be the LaBelle Lock at that point in time. But locking in there and essentially putting him through some pain at that point in time. I think the match with Punk and Daniel Bryan at Over the Limit pay-per-view will be. It has the potential for being up there for match of the year. I don't think it would be the match of the year, because I think either the Punk-Jericho match at WrestleMania or the Undertaker-Triple H match at WrestleMania will probably, one of those two will be match of the year. But this one definitely has that potential of being up there in the ranks for match of the year if they give it time and if they let them do what they want to do. So hopefully we'll get a really good, because the pay-per-view is in 2 weeks. You get one more Raw before the pay-per-view. Hopefully they'll do some more building up for the matches that they already have at that point in time, and hopefully the pay-per-view itself will be an extremely fun watch. I'm not holding my breath on that, but there's a couple really good matches in there, and it should be somewhat entertaining for at least those few matches. This is that overall for Monday Night Raw. It had some really good points in there that I pointed out. Obviously, it also had a lot of bad points in there. I mean, like I said, with the Divas match and a few of the other matches, and they have no idea where. I have no idea where they're going with Brutus Clay. What's going to be his first real feud? You can't really call his deal with Jack Swagger and Dolph Ziggler a feud yet, but that's pretty much my overall thoughts for Monday Night Raw this week. I hope you enjoyed listening to what I had to say, and I do thank you guys for watching.